This automatic brewer does it all despite being so small. My design here can automatically brew 2 to 6 ingredient potions. It also has a smart system, so it will automatically turn on and off to keep this chest full. Plus there's an automatic water bottle filling system to make it easy. Hello there, Ray here. In my very first YouTube video almost 10 years ago, I showed this Auto Brewer, but I originally designed this as a competition to make the smallest one possible. But you guys loved it so much that I updated it when Dragon's Breath came out in 1.9, but because it was so compact, there was a small issue as it did not work in some locations. So after 10 years, I finally decided to fix this small problem, so I'll show you how to build this new design that works wherever you put it. So we're going to start by having a chest where we're going to have all the potions pile up into. We're going to have a hopper pointing into that, and then we're going to have the brewing stand on top of it. And we're going to have a hopper pointing into the brewing stand from this side here, and then we're going to have another hopper that points into that hopper. Then we'll have a hopper on top of the brewer pointing down into it, then one pointing into that hopper, one going up, one going into that one going into the side of that one, and lastly one right here, finishing it off like that. Now we place in our barrel there, which will be used for storage later on, and we're going to have a comparator that is going to be reading the contents in this hopper, which is facing this direction. Then we're going to toggle it and have its power being reduced a little bit by placing in a slab here with a redstone dust there, and then we're going to be placing in a block here with the comparator facing into that redstone, and that comparator is going to be reading this furnace, and that furnace is going to have one item right here that normally stacks to 64, and that will give us the perfect amount of power. The power of this comparator is then going to be pushed into this block here. It's then going to be inverted with a redstone torch, and then it's going to be sent downward onto this block, which is going to have some redstone on top of it, and then that power is going to be moved over this direction where we'll have a block that is holding a repeater that is locking the hopper in front. The power is also getting inverted with this torch over here, which is then sending its power over to this redstone dust at the top of this, and then into this repeater on 2 redstone ticks, before finally going to the solid block locking this hopper here. Now the power from this torch is also going to go upwards into this solid block here, and then into a repeater on 4 delay. And then this repeater is going to be powering a bunch of droppers. We're going to come in and place these droppers from this side over here, with one on top of this hopper facing towards us. And the second dropper is going to be facing this other dropper by placing it up against here, so its contents will be pushed into this one. And it will also be used as a block so we can power this redstone dust here, which is then powering a dropper which is going to be facing towards us on top of this one, as well as a dropper that's going to be on top of this repeater. We can just shift click it in just like so. And lastly, we can place in a dropper that is on top of this barrel facing up towards us. Now to finish off the build, we're going to place in some full cubed blocks on top of those hoppers there. And now you're done with the main part of the redstone. You made it this far, so leave a like on the video. So now we're ready to program the brewer. We're going to come into the hopper just above the brewing stand. We're going to place in 3 single blocks here that normally stack to 64. And then we're going to grab a stack of 19 and place in this slot here. Now we're going to make sure the items come into this hopper in the right order. So we're going to get 4 different items that aren't the same as ones that are in here and are not brewable items. So we're going to start out by putting a couple of these items in this dropper here. Then we're going to put a different stack in this dropper here. And then a couple more different ones in this dropper over here. And lastly, we're going to reach over to this dropper and place in another set of some different ones. Now when we come in and we turn off this comparator here and turn it back on again, it's going to activate all of these droppers. And their items are going to be sent over here. We're going to have 1 items here and the rest are going to end up over here. So whichever item is last, this is where we want to place in our nether wart. So let's go ahead and find the logs, and we're going to replace that with our nether wart source. You can always add in more storage onto this dropper if you want to. Now when it comes to everything else inside of this hopper, you can swap out their corresponding droppers with any type of secondary ingredient that you're using in your brewing stand. This includes gunpowder to make it splash, glowstone to make it stronger, redstone to make it longer, spider eyes to corrupt it, or dragon's breath to make it a lingering potion. As it doesn't matter which order these come into the brewing stand, they will still produce the same potion at the end. And then lastly, if we come over to this hopper here, we can see we got some vines, and we'll leave that vine in there, but the vine will be where we put our main ingredient. So this dropper here is where we can put in our glistering melons. Now currently I'm showing you guys how to do with 4 different items, but if you have 5 or 6 different items you need to brew up, then you want to do the same process, but you want to add in a dropper right over here pointing this direction with a hopper facing this direction and a block on top. as well as knock out this block here and place in another dropper on top of this one with a dropper facing downwards over top of this one. And then you just do the same process but with 6 different items instead of 4. Did you know I'm designing an automatic farm for every single item in the game of Minecraft? And you can see how in this spreadsheet here, which includes the item as well as the video that goes along with it. So before we start the Auto Brewer, need to place in a stack of blaze powder in this slot here. And then this hopper back here, we're going to automate the process of putting in more blaze powder by placing in some there. We also need to place in water bottles, so we're going to place them in the rest of the slots here. Just fill this all up. And then in the next hopper, we're going to place in a stack of blaze powder in the back. And then everything else is going to be filled in with water bottles. And then lastly, inside the barrel, we're going to place in our extra blaze powder at the end of it, with everything in front of it being water bottles. And I'll show you how to put in the automatic water bottle filling system after we get this brewer running. So now that we have the water as well as the blaze, we can come in to the top hopper here. As long as we don't have any items in this hopper over here, then we can come in and replace this vine with a nether wart item. So if I just click the nether wart item into that slot, it's going to replace it. That's automatically going to start the brewing system. So now you can see it's automatically converted these into awkward potions, and then it's using our main ingredient. And then after that, it will be your secondary ingredients. This can be either your gunpowder to make it a splash potion, or it could be like your redstone or glowstone to either extend it or make it stronger, or even could be like your spider eyes to corrupt it, or your dragon's breath in order to turn it into a lingering potion. But in my case, I just want to turn these into splash healing potions that are level 2. Make sure you're subscribed so YouTube knows to show you more of my useful farms and machines. The way I designed this Auto Brewer is that the whole redstone system does nothing until this last item is used up. And that's why we put the nether wart last. Even though the nether wart's used to start the next potion, as soon as this is removed from the hopper, that will send a redstone signal that will activate the entire system. This is done because the comparator can detect when that last item is missing, as it will subtract the signal that is coming from this hopper from the signal that we got coming from this furnace here. So once the nether wart is missing, the first thing I'll do, it'll come down over here and go into this repeater here, and it will lock this hopper here, preventing any new water bottles from going inside of the brewing stand. Then after a short delay, we're going to go ahead and unlock this bottom hopper so we can pull out the finished potions, while at the same time not having to worry about new potions slipping through and ending up in our finished chest over here. And then after a bit more delay, then the signal will eventually make it through this repeater here, activating all these droppers here, which will then drop all their items into this hopper chain, and they'll eventually filter them way over here into this hopper, and whatever order they end up in will just be the order in which it brews it. And that's why we need to make sure that we put the items in the proper droppers so that they will end up in the correct order. And this order could change depending on your update orders of your redstone. And that's why we check it with some random items before actually starting it. So I went ahead and put in the 5th and 6th ingredients, corrupting it with fermented spider eyes, as well as turning it into a lingering potion with dragon's breath. And you can see all the secondary ingredients, it doesn't matter which order they come in, as long as the main ingredient is first and the nether wart is always last. You can have the gunpowder, redstone and glowstone, the dragon's breath, as well as the fermented spider eye in whatever order you want. The system will be able to handle them all. And when it comes to the dragon's breath, they no longer drop bottles. You don't have to worry about those causing problems. Have $1 to spare? Consider supporting me with a super thanks. Now I'll show you guys how to put in the redstone device, which will automatically turn off the entire brewer once this double chest here gets close to being full. We're going to start by having a block here with the contents of that chest being read by a comparator that is facing out this direction. And then the comparator is going to push its power into this solid block here. We're then going to run the signal upwards into a torch on the side. Then it goes into this block over here and into another torch on this side. And lastly into this block here, which is going to lock this hopper, stopping the entire system. But we don't want to stop the system until the chest is actually full. So we're going to come in here and set this to subtraction mode. And we're going to have this comparator subtract the signal that it sees in this chest here from the signal that we're going to place over here in this barrel. So we're going to have a comparator pointing out of this barrel. We're going to have the barrel completely full of this many items that are all full stacks, or you could do something like shovels, just so that they're all maximum stacks. And now what's going to happen is that this torch is going to stay off until this double chest almost gets completely full, and then it's going to turn off the system, which is really nice. That way you can always have a full chest of potions, and whenever you take out some potions, it will automatically restart again. But if you want to turn this off before it actually fills up the chest, you can just place in a lever right here, and turn that, and then that will automatically lock the system, freezing everything in place. But if you don't have the little bit of extra redstone, the potions are going to pile up in the hopper and then pile up in the brewer, in which case in order to restart it you're going to have to remove the potions from here as well as remove them from here. Now, out of all the ingredients needed in order to continuously brew, you're unlikely to run out of items that are in these droppers because they hold so many, as well as the blaze powder can stack quite a bit, but the water bottles do not stack, so you can end up running out of those pretty quickly with just such a small amount of storage. So to build the automatic water bottle filling system, we're going to place a hopper pointing into that barrel there. Then we're going to encase it by placing in glass on these two sides right here. Now we're going to come in and place in 4 blocks coming this direction from the hopper over there. On the first block, we're going to have a comparator that is reading the contents of that hopper. Next, we're going to have a repeater on for delay. Then we're going to push all that power into a piston here that is a sticky one. Then on top of this sticky piston, we're going to have an observer facing towards us this direction and another one facing this direction. This is going to produce a clock, which is then going to be powering this dispenser, which is also going to be facing towards this opening over top of the hopper. Now we're going to come in here and place in our water source. And now we can come in and place in the stackable glass bottles, so we can end up holding a lot more water bottles. And then when it runs out of water bottles over here, it's going to automatically refill them. We can see this being done with the clock over there, converting all of the bottles into water bottles, and then they're getting picked up by this hopper here. Now we just need to prevent these bottles of water from falling out of here, so we're going to come in with some blocks and place over top of this. And just like you come in with more storage for the main ingredients, you can also come in with some more storage for the glass bottles here, so that the Auto Brewer will continuously make potions. And since this entire brewing system can run automatically, it can run in any loaded chunks, and you can learn about how spawn chunks and chunk loading works in this playlist here. And if you don't use the water bottle filling system, that means there is actually no entities being thrown about, making it not only a playerless machine, but also one that can run outside of entity processing chunks. Which means you can attach this to other farms that need potions, like my cobweb farm, or even my playerless slime farm, which uses drowning allays and infested potions to get silverfish, which are then given the oozin potion to produce an infinite source of slime blocks. Now if you want to make this machine infinitely automatic, you'd have to hook up each of these sources to a farm that produces unlimited amounts of them. But when it comes to something like the blaze powder, the blaze have to be killed by player means, meaning that you need the player to be there, and same thing also applies to Netherware, where the player has to plant it. But just by having a lot of storage, you can make this last a really long time before having to be refilled. Now tell your favorite Minecrafters about this simple yet useful machine, and check out this playlist for a lot more simple farms. Thank you all for watching, I'll see you guys in the next one, bye bye!